Hello everybody, I'm here with Amy today. Hello Amy.
Hello Karen.
It's a bit bizarre really, we're starting the beginning at the end.
Yes.
What were you going to say, Amy? Amy's going to start this video, aren't you, Amy?
Yes. Well, I was just going to say that Karen found this really good video from a channel called Sovereign Empowerment. And it's really, really interesting about the council tax and some of the corrupt things that they do that people are not aware of.
Here, Amy.
Thank you, Karen. Yes. And this gentleman is he's explaining everything and why it's wrong and what people could do.
And it says he can help them.
Exactly. Yes. So it was really interesting.
Yeah. So
and
that's...
even though I'm not in, even though I'm not in England, I can identify with the taxes because here in America we have lots of taxes.
So do we, Amy. You're not the only one anymore.
Exactly. I know.
I reckon we're the most taxed place ever.
Yes, and here it depends on what state you live in, and the state that I'm in, Maryland, is a highly taxed state.
Yeah, that's because you're part of the British colony in the first place.
Yes.
Damn Romans. Do you know what? I thought about that, Amy. This whole thing about the Romans and the conquering and everything, was that just them rounding us up?
Oh, possibly so.
The whole thing is just about how they destroyed peace and calm and tranquility and turned it into the Romans. Yes, Amy?
Oh, okay. Can you hear me? Yes, I agree, Karen.
Yeah. Shall we start his video then?
Yes, a great idea.
All right. Thank you, my darling. Let's watch the video.
Okay.
So, I hope you're sitting comfortably for this video because what I'm going to do here is literally draw back the curtains on the scam that is council tax. And yeah, it is absolutely a provable scam. And when you finish watching this video, guys, you're going to know this truth and you will know the sheer criminality of what they are doing. Now, if you're like me, at first you're going to be angry, right? Then as you digest this information, you may well even kind of think it can't be true, right? There's skepticism there. But then you're going to finally accept that we live in this matrix of control and corruption, and this is what they are doing. And then you might want to do something about it like I did. And that, my friends, is the entire purpose of this video. I want to actually show you why it's a scam first of all, and then with knowing that information, I want to explain how we can use their system, the legal system, against them and ensure that although they are pretty much clueless to the offence that they're committing. And do you know what, guys, that isn't actually an excuse for me, especially these days, because most councils now have had to deal with a lot of different people trying not to pay their council tax as they start to learn this truth. And a lot of them are trying the common law stuff. I actually did a little bit of that, and a lot of them get royally shafted. But my point is this: if you're in the council, how can you not be questioning what's going on? Why are these people doing this, right? And for me, it just seems that they don't question that, and they just carry on destroying lives. You know, and today, when it's getting harder and harder for most people to do this is what kind of really rubs my skin. It's all by design. Anyway, as far as I'm concerned, these employees made the choice to continue doing what they do. And for me, that just means that they deserve what's coming and they need to be held to account in a court of law. And that's exactly what I want to be doing. So, this is why council tax is so easy to deal with, because they are actually that clueless. And they don't really understand how the legal system works. And so, like a lot of people stuck in this matrix, they tend to only repeat and do the same things that have been repeated and done to them previously. And so this kind of cycle continues for humanity at large, right? We only got to look at what's going on out there. So what I'm going to share here, guys, has got nothing to do with all that common law, freedom on the land stuff. this really has no place in the legal system, and this is why people get burnt. It's absolutely pointless trying to win that way, because it just can't be heard in a court of law. It's their system. It's like putting diesel into a petrol car. It just doesn't work, right? So you can learn that the hard way, or you can follow what I'm going to share here and actually get a win using their legislation and the literal truth against them.
So, my dear Amy, what did you make of that?
Oh, I really liked what he was saying. That's really interesting. It sounds like he wants to help the people.
Yes.
Yes, I like that.
This video isn't actually new. It's 2 years old, but I thought I had to play it. But we have to, what's the word? We are, you know, when you're making a video, you've got, hang on a second, Amy.
Okay.
We are reporting on this video, and Amy hasn't heard this at all. Have you, my dear Amy?
Oh, that's right, dear Karen. I have not.
No, actually, I haven't even said that you were on with me. We just started talking. But Amy's with me, and Amy has not heard this video at all. So I'm playing it to her, so she's quite optimistic at the moment, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
So should we carry on then?
Yes.
Full disclosure, which basically means every party is fully aware of what each party is actually committing to and why, okay? And anything less than that, guys, is an absolute fraud. The contract was not agreed, or the contract was agreed under false pretenses. Number 2 is equal consideration. Now, this is where, you know, the consideration of an item of equal value has to take place. It might be cash or it might be a thing, but it's got to be equal value. The bottom line here is both parties consider the exchange of as equal value. Number 3 is lawful terms and conditions. No shenanigans, basically, in the proposed agreement. Simple. Number 4 is mutual consent, and this is the biggest one. In having full disclosure, equal consideration, and lawful terms and conditions, both parties for that contract consent to the terms of the contract. That's a legally binding contract, and it's really simple, right? So that being a well-established law, contract law, let me ask a quick question before we go on, because I'm hoping now just from that alone the penny's going to start to drop. Did your council do any of the above? Was there any equal consideration? Was there full disclosure? Did you even sign a contract, right? Now, I know you didn't, because none of us do, right? But that's the point I wanted to put on here. And that's because legislation, although given the force of law by the consent of the governed, which is us, always works on the basis of assumed consent. We're not signing anything. Did we consent, is the question. I want to make a quick side note here. If you really do want to dig into this stuff, right, at a deep level, it's a far, far bigger rabbit hole than I'm sharing on this video. There's a link in the description to another video called The Straw Man. Watch it, guys, okay? It's all true, and therein lies your freedom. Right, let's get back to the council tax stuff. Now, we know the 4 boxes that we now need to tick for a contract to be legally valid. Let's get into the courts and understand basically how it all works. Because the truth here is, right, the council doesn't use the legal system. They pretend they do, but they really use fear and intimidation to get you guys to pay, not the courts. And therein lies the scam and the sheer illegality of what these people are doing.
So what do you make of that, Amy? Like, I know that you're American and you don't get council tax, so that bit is a bit different. But we're given this bill, and they do say on there that they pay the nurses, the doctors, the police. Schools.
Right.
Schools is the other thing. But they don't, you know, I bet you they're using it for other things. So I think what he means is that, you know, like, for instance, this is my way of why I like this video. Years and years ago, I went out with a builder, and they built this great big housing estate, 800 houses. The town council said that our town had grown so big that the infrastructure just couldn't cope with how many people lived here. And what they was, they needed a new, like, senior school. We needed new this, new that, new more roads, more doctors, because the town had grown so much. And then afterwards, the town council, the town council that was, but the district council, which is in Newbury, decided then to add 800 houses, which is like adding another town to a place that's already broken. No more schools, no more doctors, just putting another God knows how many people in. It's 800 houses, so do that by 3 or 4 because they've got children. And, you know, and I thought, how could they do that? So I remember through some other circumstance I was in, I wrote to them. I wanted to know what was going on because it's like, I know, I said to them, that builder that built those houses gave you money. So what did you spend it on? Thinking that the town council say that we need a new senior school. So they wrote back to me and they gave me a list of things which said a bridle path in Newbury with Thatcham. It said another porter cabin at the school. Porter cabin. Well, what are we? 2024. So this was a few years ago, but we're in 2000s now. But we get a porter cabin, and they did something to the library. And then, do you know where the money went?
Where?
On these traffic lights in Newbury.
Oh, well.
How did that help Thatcher, who had to sustain 800 more houses?
Right.
I was disgusted. Yeah. I wrote back to the
Yeah.
council and said, I'm disgusted. And they said, we haven't done anything wrong. So I think that's what he means about disclosure. You can say, oh, we're doing it for the nurses or whatever, you know, the schools, but you'd want to see an itemised list of what you spent the money on. Which they're not going to tell you because they didn't tell Thatcham people that the builder gave us all this money and we put it on these lights in Newbury. And what it is in Newbury racecourse, very popular racecourse now, they've built all these houses on it, housing estates around it, taking a bit of the land from the racecourse, or some of the houses are, you know, like at furlong 3. And so they see the horses go past. Oh my God, I know, I find it crazy. But they stuck a lot of houses in there. Now you imagine the amount of money that builder gave the council. But what would those people who had to put up with years of building feel if all the money that was taken from the builder was spent on this is not happening, but on a senior school in Thatcham? How would they feel? I just thought that was disgusting what the council did. So we don't really know what they're doing with our money, and they're doing what they want with our money. So
that's true.
That's probably what he means about the disclosure and explaining exactly penny for penny where our money is going, all of it. Not just saying police and that. But what did you make of all those things? There's all these things that have to come together. And basically, you're not even there before you've even done the court thing yet, which is what he's going to get onto next.
Yes. It's so much bureaucracy and red tape and everything.
But we need people like him who know what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Do you want to hear the next bit, Amy?
Yes.
Okay, then let's hear the next bit.
Let's talk about the courts, okay? Now, I know this is boring, right? But if you really want to know and be free and awake to the sheer corruption that's going on here, guys, it's really important to understand this stuff because it gives you that foundational layer of knowledge you're going to need to deal with it. And also to expose the scam, because it's impossible to ignore once you know. So let's get into it. So matters concerning debt are generally the civil and not criminal. Criminals handled in a different court, civil in the county court. This is where CCJs and bankruptcies, as an example, are dealt with. Now, little side note, a good friend of mine, his mother, who was a retired NHS nurse, was bankrupted and had her house repossessed over an alleged 3k-ish debt, council tax debt. She was going through mental illness at the time, had no idea what was really going on, okay? And my friend was only aware when they were in the process of repossessing her home. If not for him, to be frank, his mum would literally have been put on the streets. This is what they do. It's evil and it's disgusting, and this is why I've got no sympathy for them. Fortunately, my friend knows the truth, and he's dealing with the matter, right? And this is kind of how we've got to know what we know through going through this. He's got them banged to rights, and he's going to go all the way, and he will absolutely win. These are just liars and crooks, lazy, incompetent people in general, especially in his matter, okay? I'm not saying everybody, but in his matter. And it happens way more than you would think, okay? And this is why we've got to stop paying this damn tax, because we do not have to. And that's what I want to share in all of this video, okay? They don't even follow their own council tax rules, which are in this book. That's how bad they are, okay? Now, offences of a criminal nature are dealt with in the magistrates' courts. So we've got civil jurisdiction and we've got a criminal jurisdiction. They're two very different. Council tax, therefore, you would think would be dealt with in the civil courts, being debt. No. And this is really just the beginning of the scam, but I'm going to come back to that in just a little bit because it goes a little bit deeper. First, I actually want to explain the rules of the court system because look, if I'm a judge and I'm sitting in the county court, I need some sort of rules to govern how the court operates and how I operate, right? And my actions as a judge. So to really effectively make a ruling based on the law or legislation, to be more accurate, we have to have the rules. We also need rules for the claimants, okay, and the defendants in that situation. So put simply, these are called civil procedure rules. Basically, everything in those green books just over there, over my shoulder, they're the civil procedure rules. Lower court criminal matters follow the criminal procedure rules. So we have, in simple terms, civil matters, civil procedure rules. Criminal matters, criminal procedure rules. Pretty simple stuff, right? So, logically thinking, if any council tax matter were it to reach the courts, it would be heard in the county court using the civil procedure rules because this is merely an alleged debt, right? I think you already know the answer to that one. No, it doesn't happen that way at all. This is where the scam starts, so let's dig in. Okay, so look, I'm going to go and explain what it is they do. Okay, I'm going to break this all down with proof points that you can also use to confirm yourself. But first of all though, council tax matters are heard in a criminal court, the magistrates court, not the civil court. Why is that? It's really simple because they basically just hire the courtroom. None of this stuff's legal, right? They hire the courtroom specifically to process council tax matters. Okay, I'm going to say that again so this sinks in. They hire the courtroom for the day for only council tax matters. It's just a hired venue pretending to be a court of law. That in itself should be mind-blowing, but it gets worse. In addition to this, all council tax matters are bulk processed. And what all of that basically means is they're not following any of those procedural rules that I've talked about. It's not even a real court on that particular day. If you actually go to the summons hearing, guys, and you ask the magistrates if they're under their oaths, okay, you're going to get silence, maybe even a little bit of bluster. But if you keep pushing them on that, they will simply leave the room. They are not there under their oaths on that day. They are private contractors. And if they admitted they were under their oaths, they would be in a world of trouble. They're committing criminal offences. Now, to press this point home, if you or anyone else were to bring a claim, we have to follow those procedure rules, right? We have to use the correct legal forms for the application for the claim. Even if we are defending a claim, the same applies. There would also be a case file. If we're the claimant, the defendant is entitled access to the case file to see what it is that's going on so we can defend the claim. The rules are there for a reason, but none of this stuff applies to council tax, none of it. And folks, that is how we can actually catch them out and ultimately stop paying and really have all of your repayments funded too. So with that, let's go into this deeper.
Oh my God, Amy, for God's sake, it's just ridiculous. They hire the court for the day.
Yes.
I think what he's going to get to the point is that when you get your reminder for not paying and he explains how it happens, what you get, and then you get this thing to go to court, it looks like you're getting that letter from court, but you're not. It's the county council that are sending it. And when you look at the documentation, which I know you're not looking at right now because you're just listening to this video, but you know in your birth certificate you get, I don't know what you get, but we get a horse, we get a unicorn, whatever it is, and a crown in the middle. So that is the stamp of the courts, the whole thing. It's your birth certificates, it's all that kind of stuff. But on this, the letter comes, summons, that's it, the summons. But you'll just have a few barcodes because he says that's all to do with the council. So they cannot use the court like that. But I'm just disgusted that they're even just hiring the court for the day.
Yes.
To make people pay something that they don't have to pay.
Oh, I know. It is terrible.
What do you think about all those ways that it's like I tell you what, I mean, it's not that I told you. We've done quite a lot of this on Sun and Moon, maybe not today, maybe not yesterday, but over the years we've done an awful lot of information on this stuff and had many hangouts about law with Claudio, David Giamitia. We've done a lot, but you know,
Yeah,
suddenly there was this video, and I just thought it was a really good idea to put it back in people's minds about
yeah,
things. I mean, I just am quite disgusted that everything is broken
yeah.
and they're able to collect all this money.
Oh, I know. It's so unfair to the people to do that. It's
It,
not right.
no, nothing's right
And
though, is it?
right, and people, they don't know, they just pay it, but they don't realize that it's wrong.
I've said
But
repeatedly to
they
the
do.
council, maybe the post office, it's not legally binding. And they go, oh, yes,
Yeah,
it is.
oh, I know.
It's the
Yeah,
one thing I hate, but you know, for a long time in my life, the most important thing was to look after my daughter, and I have to
right.
succeed. I know she's a little bit older now, but I'm still in it. I have to succeed. And you know, Amy, I have mentioned it before. My boiler broke. I didn't have a boiler for 2 years, you know,
Yes.
and things like that. It's been a little bit difficult. And then Mickey dying. I mean, obviously, on the silver
Uh,
lining, I've met someone really nice. Well, I haven't just met him; I've known him for years. But he's
yeah.
lovely, and that bit is great. But you know, the journey here has been a bit rough.
Oh, I know it has been
But
rough.
I hate this tax.
It's awful.
But
Yeah.
we're going to carry
I,
on because he's got a bit longer to go yet, Amy. Is there anything else you want to say about what we've just listened to? Because I know it's quite deep and a lot to take in.
yeah.
So we just
Yes, we
carry on
can.
then?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to carry on.
Now, what gives the council the power to go and bankrupt the unaware and even repossess their homes? It's the so-called liability order that we get. Now, what I want to do is go over the process the council will follow that ends with us getting this liability order, okay? But I also want to point out all of the shenanigans, for want of a better word, that they get up to whilst doing it, and how you can actually expose all of this. So, to get that liability order, you're going to have to first stop paying, right? Now, when you stop paying your council tax, you will first get some reminders. These come every other week. Eventually, you're going to receive a court summons. It's this official looking piece of paper that, for the unaware, is a pretty scary and intimidating thing, because who on earth wants to go to court, right, for fun? Especially when it's a magistrate's court, right? What happens at this point is most will just pay under the threat of a court hearing, a magistrate's court hearing. For those that don't, they're going to get this fake liability order, which is issued at a fake summons hearing, okay, in a fake court, hired for the day, that should be a civil matter, right? And that fake liability order is used to get that alleged debt paid using debt collection agents to intimidate with their various bully boy tactics. But before we get into the fake liability order though, I want to take a closer look at the summons, because if the liability order is fake, what about the summons? The summons now, guys. So in any normal situation, when a summons is issued, there should be a legal process, as I've been saying, that's basically followed. All those procedural rules there, right? A complaint should be raised and filed with the clerk of the Justice of the Peace, who sits in the Magistrates' Court, and that complaint has to adhere to some rules, namely Section 51 of the Magistrates' Court Act 1980. Now, doing this properly would also create a case file of which the court would also have a record. And following the Magistrates' Court Act, there should also be a case progression officer appointed to manage said case. Now, this bit is important because it's how we start backing the council into a corner so as to catch them out. You see, if this was done as it should be done, there would be a record of the summons in the court record, as well as a record of the complaint and details of who the case progression officer is, and a case file. But the truth is none of this stuff exists, and this is where our secret weapon comes in, the Data Subject Access Request. Now, the Data Protection Act 2018 is so powerful. We own our data and information, guys, and using this act is how we catch them out in their lies. When a DSAR is filed with the court, they are legally obliged to respond to that DSAR, and when you ask the right questions in the right way, the court will confirm they don't hold any data or information on you at all. Well, how can that be? Where's the record of the original complaint held? Where's the case file? Where's the case progression officer? Who is he or her? You know, where's the summons? Here's a DSAR that I actually filed with court, and here's their reply confirming they don't hold any data and information on me. So here's a response to a data subject access request. This is one I'm actually working on with somebody else. One of the things I do, by the way, guys, is if you want to do this, I'm happy to work with you. So you don't need to make the mistakes that I made. We can just literally go through exactly what we've got to go through and keep these people to account. But anyway, this is a response from the MOJ, and you can say response to the data subject access request. Quite a recent one, but the bottom line is that this is all about, do they hold the data and information? Where's the court case management file? Where's all of our data? Now, there's a number of other parts to a DSAR that we would do, but here's the main one here. Look, so please provide data and information contained within the court case management file. And here they are just confirming, conducted a search of your personal data. I can confirm that the magistrate's court concerned does not hold any personal data within the scope of your request. That is because they do not hold a case management file for the court proceedings involving you. So there you have the so-called court that the council issued a summons for a hearing specifically for council tax, confirming they hold no data and information. So none of this, that just absolutely categorically proves what I've been saying so far. None of this follows any procedural rule. It's an entire scam. They hire the courtroom for the day, right? So there's your proof, and it gets worse. So let's carry on with this. So if they hold no data on me or you, which will be exactly the same case if you do this stuff, right? The question now is, well, who issued the summons if not the court? Isn't the court meant to do that? You guessed it. It's the council that issued the summons. And that, my friends, is an offence, which I'm going to cover a little bit later on. And what's crazy is they may even admit to this. The court will definitely confirm it, but the council may admit to it. This is how ignorant they really are of what's going on. In my case, I did have them admit to it. And also they confirmed to me that the court gave them authorization to issue or print that summons. So in my case, to prove that that wasn't true, and keep in mind this, guys, whomever makes the claim has the burden of proof. I submitted a freedom of information request to the council, and I asked for confirmation of the legislation or the court rules that supported their claim. You can guess there aren't any, right? I also sent an FOI request to the MOJ to confirm the same thing. And you can see how easy it is to catch them in these lies, right? They are making a claim that you owe them a debt. Well, prove it then. So all of this stuff that we are doing becomes evidence for later on. This is why I'm sharing all of this. Okay, let's check out one of my own summonses. I'm going to show you a summons, and I'm going to walk you through why this thing is just illegal. It's just a piece of paper with a bunch of stuff written on it. It's got no weight, no force in law, if you know what's going on. All right, let's go through that. Okay, guys, so this is, you're looking at a alleged summons from the council tax issued, apparently issued by the court, but we know because I've shown you the DSAR, it isn't issued by the court. It's all done by the council. Nothing to do with the court at all. But let's just talk this through, some basics as to why this is not a legitimate summons. First of all, everything from the court is done on correct form. And that correct form is something you can go onto the gov.uk, and these forms are all there for download. Like, you cannot process anything in the legal system without it being on proper court form. Now, first of all, before we really dig into this, that's just a piece of paper with some writing on it, right? First of all, the only way we know that this is anything to do with a summons is it's just got summons written on it as a title, right? Another thing would be, you're never going to get barcodes on any court documentation. That's really just so the council can track for their own records, because they're bulk processing, right? Any court documentation has got to have some sort of official seal, because otherwise anybody could be running around with bits of paper saying, I've got a warrant, I've got this, I've got that, right? And that's another story because that does actually happen. But the bottom line is that there's no court seal here. There's nothing going on at all. There's no indication that this has actually come from any court at all, right? So there's the first thing to look out for. Now, another obvious one is this. Apparently a complaint has been made, the undersigned clerk to the Justice of the Peace. Now, this individual is a public servant, okay? We should know who they are. Well, where are they on here? They should have signed it. They haven't signed anything. And the reason they haven't signed it is because this is a sham. It's a scam summons. They would never put their name to something like that because they'd end up in jail, right? That is why there is no name. So that in itself means that this is not legitimate, right? If this got into the High Court, which you can do, and I'm actually doing one right now where I'm going to go all the way, this is bad, guys. This is an offence. They're impersonating the court. And I'm going to show you some legislation that supports what I'm saying. Okay, so this is absolutely just a piece of paper with a bit of writing on it. Okay, and one other thing I'll show you. I haven't covered this in the video, sorry, but if you get that council tax handbook, this £30, and it says it in the handbook, their own rules, it only cost them 50p to produce. 50 pence, and they're charging you 30. They're just scam artists. That is all they are. All right. So there's a typical summons. It's completely fake. I've already showed you previous to this that the courts literally don't hold any information on any of this stuff at all. So if the courts hold nothing and this is meant to be heard in a court of law, well, who then is doing all of this stuff? And we already know the answer to that. So with that said, let's move on.
Oh my God, Amy, everything's a mistake. It's all a mistake, upon a lie, upon con, lie, mistake.
Yeah, it's a very crooked system.
Wow. Everything is wrong. And also, I'll tell you what, we're going to just stop this for a moment. Well, I just drew up, it's a specimen. It's obviously for a court. And you see there, it's got the crest that he's talking about. But when you look at the council document, there isn't one. A real document for court has a crest on it. This is not coming from court, which is exactly what he's saying, but I'm just showing you what is missing on that document, one of those. So so they can't act on each other's part, and they're pretending that they are.
Right.
That's disgusting, isn't it?
It is. That really is, to intimidate people that way.
And he said, make people homeless.
Oh, I know. How awful.
Well, I told you what we're living in. Totalitarianism.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, that really
Do you know
shows.
what? I was telling my mum that Charles and the Parliament make the monarchy. And she didn't believe me, and she looked it up in the dictionary and she saw it, but she still wouldn't believe what I was saying, even though it was in the dictionary. No, he doesn't do anything in the government. It's a lie. I said, Mum, if he chooses so he can end the government, he has the ace. Even if he's just saying, oh no, you can get on with it, he's still got the golden ace up his sleeve. He can make a government resign. She said, oh no, he doesn't. But he does. But anyway, what I'm saying is we don't know what we're living in. But you have to have one of those crests. Otherwise, that's not real. And is acting on behalf of a court that doesn't exist because they're hiring the court for the day.
Yes.
How can you hire a court?
Yeah, and he said that the court doesn't have any data or documentation about any of this.
No, yeah.
So it's just completely fabricated.
I wonder if we could hire the court for the day.
Yeah, I wonder.
Well, we wouldn't want it their way anyway, would we?
No.
But that is just, come on, that's quite incredible. It makes you think, I don't believe it, but I do believe it because we've been doing it for years. But I like this little video and I hope he doesn't mind us copying it and reporting on it.
Yes.
Yeah, should we move on, Amy? Have you got anything else to say?
I think we could move on, Karen.
We summarise stuff here, guys. There's been a lot to go through. So we have a fake summons, that obviously isn't a summons, that is being used by the council to confirm that there is a fake hearing that is being held in a fake court, essentially, because it's hired for the day for the purposes of council tax, whereby a fake liability order is going to be issued if you don't make payment. It's all a lie. And in doing all of this, okay, the individuals, the employees are committing a number of offences. So let's take a look at the relevant legislation. This is going to blow your mind. Okay, guys, so we're going to take a quick look here at all of the relevant legislation as pertains to us basically holding these individuals to account in the council. Now, you're going to deal with a number of different individuals, so you kind of want to make this a bit personal. Don't deal with the organisation that is the council. Deal with the individuals that are actually doing this stuff, okay? Because this is where we can really hold them to account. So you can see here on government websites, this is all relevant legislation, and you're going to see very quickly how or what it is they're doing, okay? That is wrong and it's actually an offence. So Local Government Act 88. This is one they use themselves, by the way. Now, I want to show you the relevant sections. I'm not going to read everything here. I just want to get to the point for you so you can see. Section 78(2). Provided that the transfer of powers and duties enacted by this Act shall not authorise any county council or any committee or any member thereof to exercise any of the powers of a court of record, to administer an oath, to exercise any jurisdiction under the Summary Jurisdiction Acts, and perform any judicial business. Okay, now, summary, right? What do we already know? They're hiring a courtroom for a day that isn't a courtroom. They're not following any procedural rules. They do not issue the summons. They do it all. Sorry, the court does not issue the summons. They do all of this stuff themselves. I've showed you the summons. It's not a real summons. What are they doing here? Shall not authorise any county council to exercise any of the powers of a court of record. Is that what they are doing? I think they are, right? It's pretty clear that's what they're doing, and you can catch them in all of this, right? So that's the first piece of legislation that's very relevant. Let's go to the next one. Administration of Justice Act 1970, Part 5. Excuse me. A person, okay, now I want to do a video on legalese because we all think that the word person is part of the English language. It is not. There's another language that's been interwoven with the English language called legalese. This is part of the illusion that they cast in the Matrix. Okay, so the person is the individual. Go watch that straw man video if you haven't. You'll understand this a bit more. But this is why we want to be dealing with the individuals in the council, not the actual organisation itself, because they are committing these offences. So let's just go through this. A person commits an offence if, with the object of coercing another person to pay money claimed from the other as a debt due. What's happening here, guys? What's happening? We already know they're not following any of the procedural rules. They're issuing this summons. They're issuing a liability order. It's all being done by the council. Is the individual that's telling you that you owe this alleged debt committing an offence? Okay, I have not been in a court where that's been answered by a judge, but I intend to make that happen, okay? You don't need to go that far to deal with the council tax, but I wanted to show you how bad this is. A person commits an offence if harasses the other with demands for payment. Is that not happening here? In respect of their frequency or the manner or the manner or occasion of making any such demand, of any threat or publicity by which any demand is accomplished. Like, it's all there, guys. Okay, so that's 2 acts right now. Let's get to the next one. You can get them perjury as well. It's so cool. These people are so ignorant a lot of the time. They have no comprehension of the law or what it is they're actually doing. I'd actually love to get this in front of somebody that works in the council and just get their real point of view. Because this is what they're doing. If any person knowingly or willfully makes otherwise than an oath a statement false in a material particular, and the statement is made in a statutory declaration. So data subject access requests, guys, okay? And I'm going to come into that because you've got to understand what this all interconnects to one or the other, right? We get this into a court of law. I don't really have anywhere to go with it, right? Next one, Fraud Act. Yes, the Fraud Act. Section 3 of the Fraud Act. A person is in breach of this section if he dishonestly fails to disclose to another person information which he is under a legal duty to disclose, and intends by failing to disclose the information to make a gain for himself or another, to cause loss. Now, simple terms, when I finish this video, I'm going to finish it with the nail in the coffin, which is they have to evidence our obligation to pay, and they can't, because there is no contract, there is no obligation, okay, which means fraud. Now, accusing somebody of fraud is a very, very serious offence, okay, so I'm not saying that we're going to do that here. I'm just pointing out some legislation as pertains to this particular matter, okay. There's actually one other section of the Fraud Act. I'm going to just get you to that as well. 7. Making or supplying articles for use in frauds. A person is guilty of offence if he makes, adapts, supplies or offers to supply any article knowing that it's designed or adapted for use in the course or in connection with fraud. Now, again, summons, liability order, they're just pieces of paper. They are not court-issued pieces of paper. Well, as much as the court-issued piece of paper is on proper legal form is my point, okay? I'm hoping you're getting a sort of penny drop moment here. This whole thing is a scam. It's mind-blowing.
Wow, Amy. So what were you saying, Amy?
I was saying that I don't know how they can get away with this. It's so fraudulent and so terrible to the people. But we have all these taxes here as well. And, you know, it's really horrible. And I told the accountant that taxation is theft. And he didn't like me saying that. But the way he does taxes, he makes sure that you have to pay so much taxes and everything. And one year I owed all these taxes and I didn't think that was right. And that's when I said that to him. And you could tell he didn't like me saying that. But it really is horrible to the people.
So is income tax as well. Remember, they started taking that one for us for the wars. Well, what are we at war with right now? What? Are they at war with us?
I know, because we were supposed to have broken away from England because of taxation.
No, Amy. Corporations. Yeah. But it's not that, you know, you could say, like I said, the corporation is the UK, but the UK is a corporation and we are just their slaves, it seems, in totalitarianism.
Yes.
Because they don't want... Why can't we know all this stuff? Why... I mean, that guy there, I think he's an attorney.
Yeah, probably so.
I just think it's quite incredible because basically he's proving that actually what they're doing is fraud, but he's not going to use those terms because it's quite a serious offence, you know, like to charge someone with fraud.
Right.
But I told you, I went to the police, the fraud police, with what the bank did to me.
Yes,
I don't want to talk too much about that one, but very quickly, it's the same sort of thing. Well, what it made me realise at the end was that the Ombudsman is being paid millions of pounds to do nothing. Millions to do nothing. And they support the banks. And the banks get charged the amount of money to have the investigation, but they still support the banks, not the people. And what it was is that my case, it was a PPI product, but not because I'd signed for it or wanted it. It was because it was put on my account as an error. And that's how they should have dealt with it. But no, they stuck us in the PPI fiasco, which was something completely different. That was about people having a PPI product and it didn't work for you. So the court deemed it and said to reimburse everybody. But that's not what happened. They put wrong charges onto our accounts. And there's thousands and thousands of people like me. And because they didn't rectify it, because it goes to the chief executive, because it affects your... there's 2 data acts it affects. And one of them is to do with your credit rating and everything. And when... So say, for instance, it put a few £100 of debt onto your account that is not your debt. It shows up on the system as debt. So it's wrongly showing information about you. So it breaks the law. So I got to the Ombudsman with all that. And then they made me wait 5 years. And then they said you couldn't help me. I said,
That's
you all need to resign.
Yes.
That's Antonio Hortosar, whatever his name is. He was chief exec. I don't know if he is now chief executive of Lloyd's. He got a £5 million bonus when they denied us our money, because they obviously spotted there was thousands of people that had wrong charges put on their account, and they sided with the bank. And do you know something else? They even broke the law when it came to my case, because they told me they didn't have my information, which they said, we'll go to the Ombudsman, thinking, oh, the Ombudsman, they'll save the day. And basically, the bank told me they had destroyed my information to send it to the Ombudsman first, which breaks the law, because the first person to have that information is me. And what it is they've made a decision on my case, and I never even saw my information. Now, I told the, what is she called? The independent assessor. She's above the Ombudsman. But what it is when you get to her, she can't try your case. She can only look at how the Ombudsman treated you. So basically, I told her what they were doing. She said, well, you're going to have a senior ombudsman, and it's going to have to be... So it's like it goes there, and then it goes there again. And then she's after that. And after that, she deemed in my favour. But it was too late for my case, which looks like it's gone that way. I'm not... And they asked me to sign for... I said, I'm not signing for that. It's corrupt what they did.
Yes.
And do you know what? Those PPI people, now... I mean, they don't ring you right now, but at the end they said there are thousands and thousands of people like you. But we can't help you because we're dealing with the other thing. It's disgusting. That's fraud. They're trading, so that can't be the only thing they've done wrong. But for that one thing, they're trading in fraud, because the chief executive would have known that the PP... What it is in those days, we used to have to use our cards, and on the back of the card there'd be a telephone number. Ring this number to activate your card. And when you did that, they put PPI onto your account that you had no knowledge of.
Well, that is disgusting.
And I reckon the Misinterpretation Act of 1967 covered me, which means when they knowingly know, which they did, that they have done these wrong charges, you are deemed your whole loan back, because it went into a loan and all that, and they still went with the bank. They're corrupt to the top.
Yes. I'm so sorry that happened.
No, but these are the things that you get caught up in. And then when this guy makes this video, it is absolutely amazing. I had to learn the hard way. Mine took years. And I worked it all out. But I worked, basically it was a bit like the train was on the 100 carriage and I'm trying to get on at the last door when I come into it. Do you see what I mean? That's how they get you.
Right.
But I like the way this guy's doing it. So should we carry on, Amy, or do you want to say anything else?
Oh, I think we can carry on, Karen.
Okay, let's carry on.
To the liability order yet, guys. Now, all of this is made possible by our weapon of choice in all alleged matters. It's the Data Protection Act 2018. So I want to take a quick look at the Data Protection Act. The weapon we have is the Data Protection Act, using these DSARs, Data Subject Access Requests, that we can send. Now, I want to show you another thing, because they're committing all these different offences, but even forget all of those, and let's just look at the Data Protection Act, because even in this, it is an offence for a person listed in subsection 4, okay, to alter, deface, block, erase or destroy or conceal information with the intention of preventing disclosure. This gets them, because they can't hide it. They have to comply with the DSAR. So they generally will just come back with a bunch of rubbish that means nothing, because they can't conceal the information, or they just have to admit we don't have the information, much like the one with the MOJ in the DSAR there. Now, obviously, the MOJ is not going to lie, right? Well, that's another thing, but the MOJ is not going to lie. That's why they just come back and say, we don't have that data and information. The council will try a lot of smoke and mirrors instead. They won't outright come there. Unless you've got your very particular with the way you phrase the questions, which leaves them literally no wiggle room. But the point is, it's an offence to hide our data and information. So if they have the original liability order, if they have the original summons, they have to share that with us, but they don't. Okay, so I've just gone through that legislation. They are kind of banged to rights in a number of different ways, but the trick then is how you use it. So all the way through the process of dealing with the council tax, the Data Protection Act is the main weapon that we wield. And we then kind of throw these other bits of legislation, Local Government Acts, Administration of Justice, perjury, fraud. You can put them in if you want to do what they do to us and intimidate them, because none of these individuals that are employees in the council that are used to bullying people like it when it's reversed. Okay, and I'm not saying we're bullying, we're just pointing out matters of fact in law, and I can guarantee you this gets them to think twice about what it is they're doing. Okay, so that's the legislation. Let's move on.
See why it's all so powerful. To summarise, there is nothing legal about the issuance of the summons or the actual summons itself. Nothing about this follows any law at all, but it doesn't stop them doing what they do. So to really get the win here and really hold these people to account, we want that liability order, because what they do here is even worse. Okay, let's talk about the liability order. Now keep in mind, guys, anything legal and lawful ought to follow the procedure rules as I've discussed, and also use proper court form. Okay, here's a little fact that you can actually find in the Council Tax Handbook. This is the 13th edition. You can buy this on Amazon, and it's basically meant to be the rules that the council follow. My own experience with this is that they definitely don't follow the rules, and they often don't even know what's in this book. They don't even know what they're doing, and they're used to literally ruining lives with this stuff. You know, my friend's mother, who I said had her home repossessed, well, they followed none of the rules in this book at all. The fact that she was dealing with mental health issues meant that they shouldn't even have issued the summons, let alone repossessed their home. Okay, that's why he's going to win. Anyway, crazy part, their own book, right, confirms the legal form used for the issuance of a council tax liability order was discontinued in 2003. Now, I'm going to quote from the book. It's all in the book. It's crazy.
Okay, so you can see here, this is directly from the Council Tax Handbook. This handbook you can buy on Amazon, and it goes through all of the rules and procedures that the council should be following with regards to council tax, but they don't. But here's the key piece, right? And I won't quote every. Form A, which is what it used to be called, originally provided to draw up liability orders, was removed from law 1st of October 2003, and no form has been substituted in its place. So that's an absolute irrefutable fact that's even in their own damn handbook, and yet they still do what they're doing. How are these liability orders real, legitimate? They literally are not, which is why the court doesn't hold any copy, because they can't. Right? So hopefully, guys, you're getting this now. The liability orders are not real. The form does not exist. Period.
So here's this little bit when he's just saying that they're using stuff that hasn't been in place since 2003 to intimidate and send out those orders that don't even exist.
Yes.
Wow. So I think that's incredible, Amy. Anyway, Amy, what was your bit you were going to say?
I was going to say that it's just so much, and you wonder how they, what can the people do? I said, can they buy the handbook? Like, I was watching some videos a few years ago where people were calling up the IRS and asking them to show them exactly where it says that you have to pay taxes, and they couldn't find it in the code book or whatever.
Wow.
And then they would get mad, and the agents were getting mad at the people that were calling, and they would say, well, you have to pay it, everybody knows that. But where exactly does it say it? So people are disgusted with all of it. It's the same here, I think, as in England and the UK. People are just fed up with all
Yeah,
this.
because, you know, just do not watch the news at all.
Right.
If you have, you know, like, I was not watching television, and then Mickey came along, and now I'm a bit more I watch a bit more television, but I do not watch the news, documentaries, nothing.
I don't either.
I watch things where well, anyway, mending something or something. Sometimes I watch abandoned engineering. I don't agree with everything they say, but I watch it because it shows some interesting places sometimes.
Yeah.
It just seems like this video I put together earlier on about, we were something else, and something really, I can't believe it was all flooding, to be honest, like a big flood. Maybe it was.
Yeah.
And then there's Romans were back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should we?
Yeah, but
Sorry, do you want to say anything else, Amy? Because it's all crazy.
I was just going to say, it's just so crooked, and I can't believe how they can get away with
Everything is wrong. Everything is wrong.
It is.
And they can't put their names to anything, so it's like you go left, then you go right, you're in a maze, and you go over there, and you come back here, and it's a bit of that, and a bit of that, and over there, because they can't put their names to it because it's illegal.
Right. Exactly.
How can you have that when someone's drawing money like that from people and using summons that don't exist?
No, I know.
Wow.
Yeah, it should
I feel like
stopped.
sending this video to the council.
I know, you should.
Yeah. Oh, would they take any notice of me, Amy?
No, I know.
Well, not me, him.
Yes.
He's called Sovereign Empowerment. So everybody go over and sub to his channel, and I bet he's got a lot more to say as well.
Yes, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, shall we move on, Amy?
Yes, Karen.
So we have no legal form from which the court can even issue a valid liability order, guys. But given we already know the court doesn't issue the summons, could it be that they don't issue the liability order too? Well, yes, we know the answer, right? So using our secret weapon, the DSAR, we can actually confirm the court don't hold it. And so what do we do now? We're with DSAR the council too, and we ask them for our data and information contained within the original liability order. And what happens here, do you think? Well, if they don't produce it, we win. There's no liability order, that the court's already proven it. And if they do produce it, we win. It's a provably fake liability order, and the council are going to be in some pretty big trouble here. And don't forget all the legislation that I've already showed you, right? So to summarise what we've got so far, we have a fake court with a fake court hearing. They've hired it for the day. We have the council literally committing an offence by issuing or printing the summons and the liability order themselves. And the court in question holds none of our data, none of the original documentation on proper court form. No summons, no liability order exist. So we can prove the council don't have a valid claim. And worse, they're even committing offences here. But there's actually one more point to cover. This is the actual final nail in the coffin, right? The council will happily tell you that they get their power to enforce council tax from the Regulation 34 of the Council Tax Administration and Enforcement Regulations Act 1992. Remember what I said earlier though about legislation, right? It's a contract essentially. And in simple terms, it requires our consent. But also remember too that whoever makes the claim has the burden of proof. There's a section of that act that they use, section 34.6, that requires the council to satisfy the court of the following two presumptions. Okay, so section 34.6 of the Council Tax Regulations 1992, right? Let's look at that specifically. Section 6, the court shall make the order if it is satisfied that the sum has become payable by the defendant and has not been paid. Now remember, there's procedural rules that should be followed, that the council are meant to basically follow these rules, present the complaint in the right way and show all of the evidence that proves, okay, that we should be paying it. Now what it basically means is that the council need to satisfy the court of the following two presumptions. The sum has become payable, okay, by the defendant, me, you, whoever, and that any obligation has not been paid. And the key word is obligation. Remember, these are all legislations. These are acts, statutes, legislation. They are contracts. They require consent. Where's the obligation? There is none. So if the council have not evidenced it, how have they
followed due process to show that we are obligated to pay the council tax. Just see how this whole thing, it falls apart when you just keep picking away at it. It's an absolute sham. So, let's move on. So first of all, do we believe the council has even attempted to satisfy the court of anything? Well, we already know the answer to that. No. We've already proven that without DSARs, okay, they have nothing. But the key word here is obligation. Has the council at any time proven that you, me, or anyone else is obliged to pay council tax? No, they haven't. So how can they claim that you're liable then? If any other corporation, okay, and they are a corporation, the council, if any other corporation said that you owed them a debt and they didn't provide any evidence to back up that claim, you'd basically tell them where to go. Why is this any different? This is exactly what the council were doing to everybody. And millions pay it. And millions now can't even afford it. But yet they carry on. They've even put it up, right? And in doing so, they're forcing so many people into financial difficulties. People that don't know any better. It makes me sick, guys. It makes me sick. But we are not without power. We have the DSAR. When we know the game, we can use the Data Protection Act and the Freedom of Information Act, and we can literally catch them in their lies. And when they don't comply with that DSAR, which they won't because they can't, we issue a letter before claim, and then the claim itself. And folks, it may not even get to the point of claim because the penny may well already drop at this point. And you can simply negotiate with them. That's what I did in one of my matters. But if you do file a claim, and by the way, guys, I can help you with all this stuff. So if you want help, please book a call and we'll walk through exactly how we're going to do it. Anyway, if you do file a claim in court, you're going to win. And if you want to, you can take the matter to the criminal courts. Now, I've not personally done that yet, but if I'm honest with you, I'm going to do that. I really do feel it's time to hold these people to account. You know, as the world is going nuts, this stuff just has got to stop. You know, I really can't do it. So anyway, let this stuff percolate. Lose any fear or stress that you might have about this stuff. You are not obliged to pay any tax at all, especially council tax. And if you feel it's time to stop paying and you want my help and advice doing this, there's a link in the description of this video. You can book a call with me. We'll go over everything that pertains to your matter. I'll explain what we're going to do, what to expect, and if you truly want to do it and set yourself free, we'll go on and do it, okay? That's exactly what we do. It's time to own who we really are in this system. We are all beneficiaries. We have the power. There is no debt. All tax is voluntary. Let's make a stand now. If not now, when are we ever going to do it? Let's reclaim what's ours. Our freedom, guys. It's been taken from us.
Well, I like his energy, Amy.
Oh, I do too, Karen.
Cool. This was a couple of years ago this video was made. I mean, you know, if you get a court case, it doesn't take 5 minutes. And that's the other strange thing about this council tax. It should be put into the one with the monetary thing, you know, but it's not. It's put into the other one. Or is it legal? No.
Yeah.
I had to think about that one. It's put into criminal court. How can you do that when it's a debt?
I know. That doesn't sound right.
Well, I like it at the end when he talks about freedom, and it is quite nice. It just reminds me of we've got David Bowie with Hoggle and the Power to the Babes. He's the what is it called? It's called oh gosh, I only watched it last weekend.
Labyrinth.
That's it, Labyrinth. And then she suddenly realizes. She says to him, "You've got no power over me."
Yes.
Yes, that's what I'd like to say to them.
Oh,
hopefully,
I know, right?
people watching this video, maybe it's giving you some insight into realizing a part of what we're living in. It's crazy.
Oh, it is.
God, Amy, it is.
It is.
Well, anyway, everybody's got this video to watch, and I hope he doesn't mind. Anyway, I've subbed to him now, and Amy's going to sub, aren't you, Amy?
I did, yes.
Is there anything else you want to say, Amy, on this? Like, it's bananas. Come on, everything's wrong.
It really is. And I think people are just feel powerless to do anything. they've got us in this system where you have to work and pay taxes and have money, and that's all you think about. And they get us in over our head, and nobody really thinks about it.
But you know, it's another whammy. Like, he's holding up that tax book. He says in there they are 50p to make, and the council are selling them for £30.
Right, that's crazy.
No wonder no one will buy them.
Right, exactly.
But that's disgusting. But anyway, he bought one, so I'm glad that he did, because he's explained it to us.
Yes,
You know,
well done.
As a channel, like I said, we've done many of these videos, but they are maybe 4, 5 years, 6 years ago now on this channel. And maybe people aren't prepared to hunt back through hundreds and thousands of videos to go and find them. But we have done these videos.
Right.
Claudio?
Yes.
Yes. But anyway, I know it's a bit deep, Amy, and I know that you weren't looking at the video, but did you enjoy that a bit? Like, you know,
I did. It was really interesting. Very good information. But horrible to think that they do this. But
yeah, to their own people.
Yes, to their own people.
And you think it's extra money because the government's obviously paying it, and then they get this tax out of us and make us pay it again. And then what it is what are they doing with all our money? They're just doing what they want. It's disgusting. I told you what they did. You know, maybe they should have put it to a vote. What would everybody like? Would they like a new senior school in their town, or paying for the next town's traffic lights?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, they're both. Anyway, they're all corrupt, I think.
I do too.
Yes. But Amy, thank you so much for helping me with this video.
You're welcome, Karen. Thank you.
Thank you, my darling. Mwah!
Mwah.
And mwah to chat room for everybody that's listened and got this far.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, my darling.
You're welcome, darling.